Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the new media show. Of course, my name is Todd Cochrane, and I have a choppy internet connection this morning. So we've got Rob on the other side. Good morning, Rob. How are you?
Good morning, Todd. It's great to be here and doing the new media show again. It's always fun.
The audio sounds good, but you might be doing the robot thing and jerking a little bit today.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Yeah.
hopefully you hear me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I can hear you fine. Yeah.
All right. So I'm all thumbs this morning. I don't know what it is. Well, first thing was is I came in this morning and I got everything fired up, and I had done a massive deep clean in the studio. And we all do that from time to time, right? Clean the dust off the knobs. And I was deathly afraid that when you called in, I had done testing, everything was working last week, and then this morning your side wasn't getting any audio. So I just like, you gotta be kidding me. But no, we're going to go through a major upgrade on the Skype system and the TriCaster. So my new TriCaster is on the way. And then we're going to make, I think the way this works, and I've been working on figuring out the new plumbing, and that's always tricky, is that the HDMI out of the Mac Mini will go into a new box that basically converts the video to what they call an NDI stream, and that is just it's video over IP. And I've been laying in the new network to support the higher speeds and upgraded switch and that kind of stuff. And then the box that goes into has a audio out. So I'm thinking if everything goes right, it's just going to be a single wire back into the mixer. And you should, keyword is should, be able to hear me. Um, and the audience should be able to hear you just fine. So it reduces a whole bunch of stuff. Now, maybe I don't fully understand how it works, but that's if I can get it so it's just a single wire out of the converter box and into the mixer, and then you can hear me that way, then we're golden. But things I've ordered extra cables just in case.
Yeah. Sounds like quite the process, Todd.
Well,
So,
it is what it is. But anyway, everyone, welcome to the show, and hopefully I think I'm recording everything.
I know this is a little rough episode for us. I'd agree. I'm not
Yeah.
sure I even have any video going through right now. I don't
Well,
know if you can see me or not.
yeah,
Can you?
you're moving, so I'm
Okay.
just I'm a lock frame on your side then, huh?
There's no video at all. So,
Oh my gosh.
but
There was video before,
that's
right?
okay.
When we started?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
exactly. Right when we started, I lost all video coming back to me, but
Oh,
that's okay. I mean,
um,
as long as the audio's there, we can proceed.
and
And
and I can
you're seeing me, then we're good. Then
yeah,
we're
so I can
golden.
make funny faces and do all kinds of weird things, but so you can't see me. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, lots going on, of course, and just continues to be. I don't know about you guys, Rob, but we were just blown away. October is the. Are you seeing an increase in bodies coming? I think we're seeing a surge still of podcasters coming in the space.
Yep. New networks, new media companies. I mean, it's been going on for many months
I
now. I
know.
mean, this isn't something that's new what's happening right now, necessarily, but it does feel like that there is a resurgence of new people coming into the space. I'm having to talk basic podcasting to more people than ever in some ways, um, and trying to onboard people, moving people from platform to platform. It's definitely a challenge, and really, I think the biggest challenge for a lot of big podcasters today is deciding what kind of platform and what kind of capability they want to have for their shows. I mean, based on whether or not they're an advertising show, the struggle between the dynamic ad insertion priorities, programmatic, host reads. I feel like that there's two ends of the spectrum out there that are kind of colliding. Um, the whole organic host reads are still king in the podcasting space today, but I feel a lot of pressure around the dynamic ad insertion, plus what we're seeing happen with distribution at places like Spotify and even to some degree Pandora, and what's happening around redistribution is kind of rearing its ugly head again,
So you
where
mean what's not what's
platforms are gonna.
so you
Pardon me?
mean what so you mean what's not happening at Spotify and Pandora and yeah.
Well, from what it appears that there's a lot more stuff going on there. So I can't talk a lot about it because but it's definitely there's more happening with Spotify right now.
Hmm.
And then these other platforms, like I mentioned, Pandora, and it's some of the large music platforms are piping up some interest in podcasts, but they're doing it from their perspective. They're doing it, they're rehosting the media files, which breaks dynamic ad insertion distribution. So you have this struggle as the industry moves more towards, at least the larger shows anyway, moving more towards working more with dynamic ad insertion. And then you have these big platforms wanting to take copies of everything and redistribute them. That presents challenges to the industry from the standpoint of having one host that does the monetization for you. I don't know how this is going to shake out. I think we saw it happen with Stitcher, where they had many years. Stitcher operated as a redistribution platform as well, kind of like what these other platforms are doing. Um, and they changed their model when Midroll purchased them, then or Scripps bought them. They changed their model to being a pass through. So it was more like an iTunes model. But what we're seeing now is a resurgence in more and more rehosting, and I believe we're going to see more of it here in the future. And where host reads are okay, but dynamic ad insertions kind of break the system, having those platforms do that. And I'm hoping that over time that those platforms will learn what Stitcher learned, is that it's not a good model, unless there's some other reason for doing it, which would be selling advertising into programs that are only on those platforms, and using dynamic ad insertion only into those platforms. I know we're getting into the weeds of some complex kind of business issues, where ads can be placed into content potentially down the line, um, on specific platforms. Um,
And the
and
risk of the podcaster never getting paid for those.
Yeah, well, that, or maybe there is a revenue share deal that goes on that's separate from your primary um, ad insertion platform that you're using. So I could see two levels of advertisements. So because some of these platforms want to have a separate feed that doesn't have any possibility of dynamic ad insertion. So
Hmm.
um, and that's, I see that um, as a challenge that we all need to get through at some point. I don't, it's still early in this.
Well, any of
I
those folks that
I
do
could see.
any of those folks that do any
Go,
caching is Stitcher. I mean, is Pandora and Spotify caching the media?
oh yeah,
They're
they're
rehosting.
they're they're going to capture every episode, scrape all the media um, out of the feed and rehost it. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's part of
so
the deal.
so they don't so they definitely break anytime that
The
yeah,
the dynamic insertion stuff. Yeah,
right.
there's no way to get those updated episodes into their platform.
Right.
Um, because there's no way for Spotify to know that the ads are have changed. So
Mhm.
so what they would be getting is a snapshot of the episode of whatever that episode had in it at that moment. So it's possible that a dynamically inserted ad would live in a platform like that for as long as the content was made available.
And if you had a GeoIP type of campaign and their server was in New York, they would grab the New York version of the media file, and that would be it. So yeah,
That
definitely.
ad would be played in all geos off of those platforms.
Right,
Yeah.
right, right, right. Well, just maybe a reason not to be on those platforms, because are those platforms actually even delivering significant listens? Are people actually getting any numbers off those platforms? Of course, there's so few shows over there.
I don't know, Todd, and and that's part of, it's not a big issue at this point. I believe there's going to be some reporting that happens back back to the primary platforms, but it's just, it breaks the direction that the industry is going right now. Um, and and my thought on it is that either they're all in on this, right, selling dynamic ads into those platforms for those shows and doing revenue sharing deals. But is it going to be worth it? That's the thing.
Well, I don't want
And
to
I think
I don't want to revenue.
some podcasters are like saying, "Well, I don't care," I don't, either I don't want to be over there, or they can take my show and do what they want. But the challenge is that some of these platforms are going to want to have a separate RSS feed.
Well, it just goes to show you how valuable the host endorsed ad spot that's baked into the show is going to continue to be, because they can't take that out.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. And
Yeah.
I think that is where the foundations of this medium are going to continue. The baked in host reads are going to be the the value ads that the advertiser wants, and they're going to be the ads that work the best for the podcasters too. So
Yeah.
you know
But if you
the
can't,
whole
but
dynamic ad insertion stuff will work for 95% of the distribution, but
but
you know
but if you're in Pandora or one of those platforms and they're not reporting out, you can't bill anyway, because how do you know how many listens or how many downloads you had? And really, it's not downloads over there; it's listens. And did they, you know, that's where their platform is a streaming platform. It's not a podcast delivery platform. So it's a whole different animal.
yeah yeah, and from what I understand, none of these platforms are going to offer downloads anyway.
The what?
So
They
no
are or aren't?
downloads. I think, I'm not sure, maybe they are offering
No,
downloads, but
no,
I'm
no.
not
I don't
sure.
think they do. So I want to say hello to
Yeah.
Rick, Stormy, Tim, that are all in the chat room. Welcome. That are on Facebook watching. Yeah, I just, to me, until they start being more inclusive, I'm not going to pay attention to them. They're if they make it difficult for shows to get on their platform, um, then why should I even take an interest? Because
Mhm.
if they're only dealing with the 1% of shows that are out there, it's not even worth me even losing any sleep over, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
And I don't know, unless they come out with a different policy, more inclusive, but I don't see them doing that.
yeah.
If,
I mean, Todd, my thought on it is that, a couple levels here is that there there really has been no proof or evidence or historical reference here that says that podcasts added to music platforms has proven to be successful. I mean, that's the first point, right? The second point is they may have an opportunity to help build an audience for podcasting. I don't know. I mean, from a generational perspective, I talked to um, one show this past week that said I absolutely have to be on Spotify, because that's where my demographic group is is for listeners to my show.
Hmm.
It
That's
was
hard to
a
believe.
top priority for them to be on Spotify because of the age demo um, that that their show was targeting, and how much, how strong the percentage of that age demo is an active user of Spotify.
Yeah.
So
I think they're going to be sadly disappointed regardless. You can lead a horse to
yeah,
water, but let's be honest. I'm a doubting Thomas at this point on those platforms. You look at Stitcher, its numbers have continued to sink. And I don't see that recovering. And um, until something breaks above 5%, for something to break out to 5% would be massive. But I don't see that happening for 99.9% of podcasters out there. It's just the way that it's. I don't know. I don't want to be a curmudgeon in here, but I don't know. I'm not. What is it? I'd love to hear from the audience what they think. Spotify, Pandora, are those folks important? For a distribution standpoint, I'm sure they would get lots of press if they open it up and let people. They're letting people submit shows, but you never hear back on whether or not shows are getting approved.
yeah. I mean, I think it does get back to how inclusive they're going to be in this, and it does create a bad kind of um, say a bad impression or bad uh, type of relationship that that type of deal offers to the podcaster, given the history of podcasting and given how it actually works technically. It's them doing what's easiest for them instead of doing what's right for the medium of podcasting. Is how it feels to me. It's like, well, this is how we do things with music, so we're just going to apply that same technology to podcasting.
Well, that
And
that works
and
out well.
because that's kind of what they're doing, right? This is the same way that they deliver music. It's the same way that they manage music. They create playlists, and so they have their music orientation. It's the hammer and the nail thing, right? They think one way. They're not thinking um, the way podcasting is and trying to cater to what's best for that medium, or what's best for their listeners. It's more about their model and trying to make that happen. Um, I'm I, I'm hopeful that Google will adjust here, and I think they see more of what's really happening in the medium as well. So we'll see on that too. I don't have any information on that. I mean, other than the impression that I had that they were asking a lot of questions. I know, Todd, you talked to them, and many others in the medium talked to them at Podcast Movement, and
Haven't
shared them, and at least they had the interest to go to Podcast Movement and talk to podcasters. Or I haven't seen Spotify or really Pandora really have that engagement with the podcast community.
Well, I got 75,000 podcasters and they're not talking to me. So
Yeah,
so they really care about the space. That's the way I look at it.
yeah,
Is it my job to go hunt them down and try to kiss their ass to be in their platform? Excuse my French. I'm sorry.
yeah, yeah. That's true.
You know.
That's true. Well, Todd, there was a couple of kind of crazy articles that came out this past week. I don't know if you saw them or not, but
Well, I saw
one
some.
from Neiman Labs. I don't know, did you see this one?
No, I did not. So tell me about it.
Well, it's the the headline is "Hack the Radio." A French startup aims to liberate podcasts from or by streaming audio. So it's another article about um, how podcasting needs to go to streaming as
Oh,
it's
that works real well.
yeah, it's just another. It it kind of follows along with what we're seeing with, you know, these music platforms trying to fit spoken word audio into their platforms.
Don't they realize, haven't
Um,
they yet figured out this is on-demand media? People wanna listen when they wanna listen, they don't wanna join in progress, you
no,
know?
no, no, it's not live. It would be on demand streaming is what they're
Oh,
doing. The whole, you know, this is part of this trend that's going on of trying to eliminate downloads. I mean that's the bigger trend that I'm seeing happen
oh.
across these new platforms that want to get involved in getting access to the content. They want to take out the download part,
Well,
and that's
when they get bigger than Apple, maybe they can, make that move.
yeah, yeah,
You know, it's like, do they really think that, to the end user, it is streaming when they click play? They don't know it's being downloaded.
yeah,
And when
yeah,
someone subscribes, it's being downloaded the same way it would have been streamed if they played live. And to the end user, they don't care, you know?
yeah.
So it's, to me, it's mute point. But
Yeah, so this article, you know, there's some quotes in here from people talking about it, and it's kind of linked up with Audible and that whole thing.
ugh,
It says the experience is limited by the RSS model. It says the RSS format through which podcasts are still distributed. I, I I was thinking about a way to wreck the RSS model with podcasts to imagine something else. By talking with someone, I understood that we had perhaps to try a different way to base it on streaming. What a novel idea.
mm,
And a new kind of experience, Todd.
mm. So what's the new
Streaming
experience?
of this content.
So what that really
Yeah.
mean, the new type of experience is I can shove more ads in this thing by streaming it. That's the new experience. I can make it like
Well,
radio, and I can break the content up, and I can make it a new experience by pissing off the listeners. Yep, that's a new
yeah.
model that works really well.
Yeah. Yeah. It is all these people that are trying to change what is working today.
No, they're trying to make
And that's
money off
yeah.
this, and they're trying to make money off the audiences, and in the end, who gets screwed? The listener and generally the podcaster.
Yeah. Well, it's not talking specifically about
Well,
advertising here. They're just talking about how they want to crush the RSS model,
oh, good luck.
which basically is crushing downloads.
Yeah, good luck. Yeah, good luck.
Yeah.
As Rick says in the chat, they're
So
trying to mold it into what they think it should be instead of what it is.
yeah.
Thomas, welcome to the show as well. Thank you for being here. It's
Yeah.
just, I don't know. I'm kind of grumpy this morning, so I'm ready to fight.
Yeah. 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 It's all right though.
You
I
know,
mean, yeah. So this article is talking about a French startup called Hack the Radio, and it's these people. You know, it's a new thing again, and
oh,
you know, just the fact that they're using the term radio in here tells us all we need to know, right?
right, right.
Um, they're trying to get access to the content and put it into a on demand radio model. Is what they're trying to do here.
Mm.
So, but anyway, that's been going on this week again. And let's see, what's another one that I came across?
Well, I wrote one up this weekend and or this past week, and I put it over on podcasternews.com, and it was so really what happened. I was hanging out in, well, I'm all over the Facebook groups, and I went into a Facebook group, and I saw, hey, post your link to your show, and tell us what hosting platform you're on. And I always those always drive me crazy because all it is people just, hey, I'm with this company and with that company and with this company. And
Yeah,
as I was going through the list, it was about 90% of the shows had their podcast.theirhost.com. And I think out of the 20 or 25, they were almost all like that. And I just put a note in there. I said something to the effect, so sad that these shows, so many shows are building their show on top of someone else's brand. And so, basically my typical spiel about, being on your own.com. And then I listed my show, and I didn't, and I said, You don't even know who I host with when you're on my site. No, you're going to know I'm hosting with my company, but I don't have to even promote who I'm hosting with because it's not even a thing. It's not even a concern because I'm building my brand, not someone else's. And oh man, the several of the hosting companies that were such and such the hosting company.com, they're, oh my God, they're just trying to create content and da da da. And I'm just like, no, you're not providing a way for podcasters to be unhandicapped and build their brand. They're the product. They're paying you to be the product. And so I was just like, and of course, yeah. So of course, people were defensive. So I wrote a blog post, and it was basically, what is the value of your brand? And the comparison I made was, can you imagine Starbucks having an online presence that was starbucks.theirpodcastprovider.com? That would be considered what I would say brand suicide. And in the other example was, as I said, can you imagine the lore podcasts who achieve huge success TV? Can you imagine the lore podcast being lorepodcast.theirpodcastprovider.com? And then, and hey, I'm first to admit at Blueberry, we offer the ability for new podcasters to have their show.blueberry.net. We do that, but we also provide a very easy way to upgrade to have their domain so that, we understand. I understand the dynamic when people are starting their podcast. They fully don't understand the value of having their domain. And I always say that shows typically will graduate. They'll be 3, 4, 5 weeks in, and they're like, oh man, we need our own site. So, we give them, at least we do, we give them the ability to upgrade to their own domain. But they were, people are so, man, I get just machine gunned when I try to tell podcasters that I think it's, at least in my opinion, I think it's important that they build their brand. And I understand we're getting to the point where some shows are on SoundCloud, and that's where they live. That they don't know anything outside of SoundCloud. And
Yeah.
I understand what we're facing, but it just, I don't know. I'm so, and then it's the same people bitching about, how come I don't have no listeners? And I'm like, what unique are you bringing to the table with your show? What are you doing to build an audience around your brand? And I don't know. It's just maybe so many years in the space. Maybe I'm the old curmudgeon guy, but I don't know. I know what works. I know what doesn't work.
Yeah.
And Rob, I know that, I don't know if you guys offer an upgrade path or not to use your own domain, but it it it's something that drives me nuts.
Yeah, I mean, I've been actually raising that topic with the team for a long time of trying to get more connected with that, and to offer the capability to basically more easily enable them to do exactly that. I think it's a smart way to go in the long run. It's it can be a little challenging for do that when you're trying to offer services to support them off of a different domain name. So but I think that there's probably some stuff that could get us a little closer to being a little more friendly with that. And
Yeah, you guys are
because really, I think what you're talking about is building it off a platform like WordPress. And
well,
and
even if
yeah,
you, for example, and then looking at you guys, and you're focused in part, not completely, but in part to be a live platform.
yeah.
You people are doing live shows,
Well,
so
that's part of it.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Uh-huh.
part of it. Yeah, but
But
it's a big part of your guys' space is people doing live shows.
sure.
So you got to kind of have an interface for them to do that. And I understand it gets tricky then when you're trying to wrap those same tools that they use to do that live stuff into what their point of presence is. So I understand it's a little harder to bake in, but um,
Yeah.
so it's to
I
me.
think
I
it's
Go ahead.
yeah, though I think it's still possible. I think that, using C names and things like that can get you feel a little closer to uh,
You're
give the external impression that they're more owning what they have. Yeah.
Yeah, you're I'm losing you one from time to time. And it could be as simple as um you having a domain and just forwarding it to wherever you're at. It could be as simple as that. You could be at Tony Show dot your podcast host provider.com, and that's cool, but take and buy a domain and then they offer it for free. Just forward the stupid domain to that provider. And at least you have that's the first step, at least to get people there where they don't have to remember this long name. And another thing too is, I tell people, I said, you go out and search for my show. You just put my show name in Google and you look at where I rank for my show. And then you put your name of your show in Google and where do you fall out? Where are you found? Um, and that to me is a big litmus test for a lot of folks because sometimes they're going to find out that their number one spot where their show is being found isn't even on their hosting provider. It's on Apple or someplace like that. And
Yeah.
the first search results come up for a show name. And so
Hmm.
yeah, I don't know. I'm so huge on this brand, and I understand times have changed, and people aren't maybe they're not worried about building a brand. If they just want to do a show for fun, have a good time, it's a hobby, you know, cool. If you're not planning on building something that will sustain you, if there's no plan to grow it big, no plan to monetize, you're just doing this for therapy or having fun or hanging out with buds or your girlfriends or whatever, fantastic. Um, but priorities change over time. So I just hope shows think about that. And I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but um,
That's all right.
and that's the thing too is in people. So you just want people to use WordPress in your service. I'm like,
Yeah.
no, I don't care if you're on um, whatever you're on. There's lots of people using different CSMs or
Yeah.
CRMs and whatever. I don't care. Again, the hosting is a service, and the brand is your brand. Those are not.
Yeah.
They should never be intertwined. You know.
Yeah. And it
So
is possible, and Todd, and I think you're alluding to this. It is very possible, and podcast has been doing this for a long time, of hosting on a third party provider, and
right.
then just using those URLs that are generated in the RSS
That,
feed to put into uh, um, your your particular platform that you
yeah.
have to distribute under your name,
Yeah.
whether it be PowerPress or
Whatever.
whatever,
Yeah.
and doing it that way too. I
Yeah.
mean, I think there's a couple different ways that it can be done,
Yep.
where you can maintain control based on that and
And,
not be locked into a particular hosting
and
platform or
most of these.
basically. I mean,
Yeah.
that'll work with Spreaker too. It's just a lot of people don't think about that
Yeah.
as a possibility.
Yeah, and you can be at Podbean, you can be at Spreaker, you can
Well,
be at Libsyn, you can be wherever. Doesn't matter. Then becomes
yeah,
hosting becomes agnostic, and
yeah,
and then again, it's about building your show. I keep telling people this, and people don't believe it. I'm just like, dude, I'm a podcaster first. Yes, I own a
yeah,
podcasting business, but I'm a podcaster first, and I care about podcasters. That yeah, we want customers. Yeah, we need to make money. Yeah, we need to payroll. But if I'm doing what I'm doing right, that's going to happen anyway. So, um, y- eh, yeah. So anyway, that was my
yeah.
soapbox for the week, and
Oh, that's your soapbox for the last 2 years,
Yeah,
Todd.
well, for no, for the what are you talking about? For the last 13 years. Yeah, so,
Yeah, that's true. It's true. It's even longer than that.
yeah.
Yeah.
But, I don't know if I should let this out here, but we're gonna have a press release on Monday. Can I tell you guys? Should I tell
Todd, you
you?
always have something up your sleeve,
Should
don't you?
should should I should I tell you guys? I think I can, without getting in too much trouble here because we're all friends, right? So let me bring this.
That's right. And this is just you and me. That's all, Todd.
Right. And 5,000 other podcasters. So by the time the show gets out, anyway, for the majority of folks that are listening, let me open this up a little bit. So let me see here. Yeah. Okay, I'm ready. So are you guys ready to see something? So,
I can't see anything,
oh,
Todd, so it's
oh,
okay.
oh, you can't. Oh, that's
I
right.
can't see
Shoot,
anything.
shoot. Okay,
As far as I'm concerned, this is an audio podcast right
oh,
now. So
okay. All
sorry.
right. So that's important though. Before I state this, Rob, um, those of us doing video have to remember that we are doing theater of the mind here. And even though we're doing
Yes.
video, have to continue to remember that there are a majority of folks are listening. So, all right. So we made a purchase, and it was largely in the person that was running it before was doing a great job. They had just a few, resource challenges. The site had been down a couple of times, and I asked, and to be honest with you, I hadn't talked to this individual, which Angelo had a few times, but I really hadn't had any in-depth conversation so much that I didn't have a contact email for the person. So I asked Ray Ortega. I said, "You have a contact for so and so?" And he said, "Oh yeah, here's his email." And so I sent an email over to the owner of castfeedvalidator.com. And I said, first email was, "Are you looking for some help to run it, support wise, or would you consider selling it?" And the initial email came back and said, "No, not interested in selling it." And I think it was a couple days later, I got another email back and said, "What would you offer for it?" And we made an offer, and he accepted. So as of mid last week, CastFeedValidator.com is now basically owned by Raw Voice Blueberry. But for those of you that use this resource all the time, we're not making any major changes. It's staying the same. Angelo put it on a pretty beefy server. We took updated a couple of modules in it, but everything else on the site has stayed the same. As far as the tools and the design and everything else, we may do some branding work on it at some point, but this site gets a huge amount of traffic for people validating their feeds, and really our goal in buying castfeedvalidator.com was to really make sure that it's going to be a tool that's going to be around for the long haul. And, it's a resource the community will continue to use. We're not going to monetize it or do stupid stuff like that. It's, again, had an opportunity here to help the community, and that's why we picked it up. Now, at the same time, we picked up podcastingplugin.com. He was the same group, the software group that owned this had the TSG podcasting plugin, which has not been updated since 2014. So we don't even know how many people are still using that plugin. It's not even listed on WordPress anymore because it hasn't been updated in so long. So we may push out one update on that to see if anyone's still there that would like to migrate. But anyway, it's really not that big a deal. But no, we're pretty happy to be able to have that resource and support the community. So, castfeedvalidator.com. So, do you use that tool
That's
very
great,
much,
Todd.
Rob?
No, I haven't, but I definitely will.
Yeah. Which
Yeah.
feed validator do you
Yeah.
use now?
I don't I don't really have a, quite as much of a need for it as I have in the past. So,
Just
I
remember,
I haven't used it.
all
Yeah.
feeds die, doesn't matter which provider. Well, there's an equal number of feeds that go bad on every service. Ours,
Oh,
Libsyn,
yeah.
everybody has it because we all do stupid things and put stupid stuff in our body of our podcast, and then ends up causing the feed to go invalid. So, um,
Yeah. We've worked really hard to try and build in filters
did did
that eliminate
eliminate that?
conflicts.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Like I said, all feeds go bad at one time or another. So,
Oh, yeah, for all sorts of reasons. Yeah, you're
yeah,
right.
all
Yeah.
sorts of reasons. But
Yeah.
anyway, that was, and we'll have a press release out on it on Monday. But the rest of you got the word early here. So, but
That's
yeah,
awesome, Todd.
yeah,
That's good.
we even have a test feed up there that's still a Libsyn feed. So that tells you how much we haven't changed it.
Oh, yeah, there you
Yeah.
go. And, because I know that the feedvalidator.org, which
Oh,
is what
that's
people have been using for
or
many years
no,
to
it's
do the same thing,
junk.
it hasn't been updated with the current Apple tags.
Well, it
So,
hasn't been updated in about 5 or 6 years. It's essentially It's an abandonware site. It's really bad. Yeah, it doesn't support
yeah.
any of the tags. Google, nothing. Yeah, and it is not the place to go check a feed anymore. Yeah,
So who owns that? Do you know?
to be honest with you, I don't know. They have a hard time keeping it online though. I don't know how they even they must have a benefactor because I'm sure it gets a huge amount of traffic. Um, we're kind of even surprised about the amount of traffic this site gets. So, by the number of folks that are actually doing feed validation. So, anyway, that it's just a tool. People need to use it from time to time.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I used to use it a lot more back when I was running, a catalog, right? And
Hmm.
trying to help people fix their feeds, because occasionally I'd get a feed that would be submitted to me that I would add to, like, the Zune podcast platform or whatever, and the feed wouldn't be accepted into the parser, right?
Right.
Um, and then I would have to dive into that and say, well, this is what's wrong and stuff. I'm just not doing that kind of work much anymore.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
not really experiencing it too much these days.
oh, I do want to
And
thank
and hopefully a lot of the big hosts are actually doing a much better job of filtering bad stuff out, you know.
Well, stuff still sneaks in from time to time, and it's usually, the podcasters
Sure.
put something in. Hey, one thing that Rick said here, SEO is a huge factor in growing a podcast. Well, yeah, and that goes into my argument. Thanks for the support on that. But
Yeah.
yeah, so and another thing too, we've got another thing cooking, Rob, and I can't wait to announce it. You're going to be like, really?
Nothing surprises me anymore out of you,
Oh,
Todd.
no, no, but you
It's
guys
like,
are
oh, he
just
had a good
quiet.
idea and he ran with it. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's how I look at it.
you
Yeah.
you guys come out with
Yeah.
stuff all the time too. You guys are just more stealthy about it. I can't get as much information out of you.
Oh, we're more stealthy about it.
Yeah, you're like Apple,
You know,
Francesco.
AKA the bad PR. Is that what you're saying?
No, no, no. Francesco's got you locked down. He's basically said it. He's put you on Todd Quiet Watch. So
Yeah.
so what? You had another article
I
you were
think,
gonna.
I mean,
Go
it'd
ahead.
be, oh, yeah, I was just gonna say, I mean, it's one of those areas that, we focus so much on trying to build the features and trying, the whole kind of PR side kind of gets, left behind sometimes.
Yeah, and
Um,
the feature stuff is it always takes longer than you want it to. You know. But,
yeah.
one thing
Yeah.
is kind of funny is I always have the product ready, but then the marketing message is not ready. So I actually spent this
Yeah.
past week actually working, getting the marketing message ready before the product was ready and actually had everything laid out. And we're working with a different
Yeah.
team and I sent that over to them. I said, can you guys review this? I need this back by Monday. And they're like, Monday? And I'm like, yeah, it's 3 days is enough. The companies do not work very fast. When you're kind of like in this go 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 mode, you're like, we can get that back to you by Wednesday, and I'm like, Wednesday, come on, this is just, and it is kind of funny to watch how the speed at which
Yeah.
different companies work.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so yeah, I got the marketing message ready, and now I'm like, okay, devs, come on, hurry up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, as far as the kind of the merging between Spreaker and Blog Talk Radio, it's happening pretty quickly. I mean, things are kind of getting worked out from a personnel perspective more and more all the time, and we're getting closer and closer together, and we're we're aligning our development priorities more and more. So it's starting to shape up. So
How's
it's good.
what's the future of Blog Talk Radio? Can you say?
uh, I would say that the future of Block Talk Radio is going to exist the way it is
Mhm.
for the foreseeable future, um, and a lot of the capabilities that Block Talk Radio has today will be incorporated into Spreaker. If that
So
gives you
so
any glimpse of the future.
so long as you don't put that stupid intro Blog Talk, please tell Francesco kill that. Get that feature needs to like disappear. That would be like go find that line of code and remove it. You know,
Todd, Todd, I'm impressed that you're over there listening to
no, I
Blog
don't.
Talk
I
Radio
don't.
content.
As soon as I
Thank you
hear
so much.
a Blog Talk Radio, that Blog Talk, guess what I do? Stop. I stop because then I'm going to hear this. I'm going to hear. Oh God.
Okay.
I'm glad you
Yeah.
guys bought that. I'm not a fan. So long as the
Yeah,
tech is
I know.
good, as long as the tech is good, you'll have, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, Pod Vader, not a fan of Blog Talk.
Well, well, I mean, we're improving things,
Yeah,
so I'll
I
just put
know.
it to you that way.
Yeah, of course. Well,
Yeah.
mergers are always fun. At least you guys got
Yeah.
the personalities kind of ironed out. That's the big thing.
Yeah, it
So,
is. Yep.
yeah.
And the whole team is going to be down in Orlando at Podfest or Orlando, the whole company.
Oh, yeah,
So
that's
we're going to
right.
be all down there.
Well, that's
Yep.
cool. Hey, I want to talk a little bit about audiosearch.ch, and they're announcing that
Oh,
they're
okay.
they're
You want to talk
closing.
about them? Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, there was someone on one of the, again, Facebook groups, and oh my God, it's going away. And I was like, well, and of course I had to weigh in. I said, you do realize that they had cool tech, but they never, ever reached out to any of us that could have integrated their technology with their API. With none, they never reached out to any of us that could have somehow helped them along in utilization. They were a search engine, and they were doing audio search within content. Would that have not been value for them to call me on the phone and say, "Hey, Todd, we can index all your podcaster shows, and we've got some API hooks, and we can act as your content internal search engine, and this is what it's going to cost you." Do you not think I would have took that call? I would have took that call, but they
Sure.
never reached out to. Did they ever reach out to you guys?
Oh, I think Francesco went to one of those secret private meetings that they had in San Francisco one time.
A secret meeting? Okay. Was it? Okay.
Yeah.
What kind of a secret
Uh,
meeting were they having?
it was like a podcast summit thing down there. It was very much linked up with NPR and that whole
Oh,
side.
oh, NPR
So
again.
I didn't even get invited to it. It was only Francesco.
Well, they didn't invite me for
So
sure, so I guess another
I
nobody.
know. Well,
Um, so
well, it's been a couple years though since he went to that, and um, it was a group like the guys from National Public Radio, Sarah Van Mosel, that I think Nick Qua
Oh,
was kind of one of the organizers. That crowd
oh,
is what I'm
that's
talking
why I
about.
didn't get an invite right there. Um, so
Yeah.
so they're shutting down August 28th. So whatever venture capital they had that was influx into the company is gone. And
Well, Todd, I have an opinion about this, pretty strong one. I
oh,
posted it online too
oh,
on Twitter, but um, I've been around this medium a long time. I mean, even before podcasting started, and I had relationships with many. This is back before podcasting. Um, Online audio search companies that started. There's actually a couple of them that started right up here in Seattle,
right,
doing the same exact stuff that those guys were doing. And all those companies failed. They all went out of business. They all shut down. A lot of them had big venture behind them. At the end of the day, I went up and I would go up and meet with their CEOs to talk about it because I had a big online show back then, and so and actually would do some interviews with them. I had them on my radio show to talk about this whole new cutting edge thing of search and audio, and how it was going to transform access to spoken word content, and everybody was all excited about it. But at the end of the day, there were two factors that always killed those type of platforms, and it was the cost of indexing all that audio content, first of all, and the fact that when they put it online, nobody freaking used it.
right.
Those are the two kiss of death, right? Out of control costs and the fact that nobody uses it. So how do you monetize it?
Well, if like I said, if someone
So
comes to
it,
me with tech that they have demonstratable that can index a show's content, that can do transcription and provide an index of keywords to search from in a show, and they can come to me and show me that that works, really works,
yeah,
then I
yeah,
can hook that into my existing infrastructure and make that a feature,
yeah,
you know,
exactly. That's the key word right there, Todd. Is that this is a feature, not
feature.
a product.
Right. It's a feature. What
It's a
what
feature. It's a feature that even Google tried to do back in the middle 2000s, and they killed it because nobody used it.
right. And I just went over to the
So,
site and I
this
searched.
whole thing is, yeah.
Yeah, so
Anyway, go ahead.
it's not like I'm active at all in the podcasting space. I don't appear on very many shows or, nothing like that. So, and I don't do two
Yeah.
interviews a week, that type of information. I'm not anywhere in the space. So, I'm being
No.
so not so naughty here. I'm looking at their search results and the most recent episode that they have of something that mentioned me actually in the show notes was in April of 2000. Oh, excuse me, November of 2015. So, but
Yeah.
again, my name was actually in the show notes. It doesn't so what were they doing? Were
Yeah.
they actually indexing the show notes or were they indexing the content? Um,
Yeah.
I don't know, but
Wow.
so it's too bad that they're going out of business. But again, if you've got a business that has something that a podcast host could use as integrate as a feature, it seems like they would be sending me an email and call me every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and
Todd, that it's not going to get built. I mean, no platform, whether it be yours, ours, is ever going to build that capability into our platform.
no, I'm never.
It's
I'm
it's too expensive. It's too expensive. It doesn't monetize, and it doesn't add a lot of value to anything.
no.
People just don't want to keyword search into audio content.
Well,
It's just
It almost
It's
need.
really that simple. I don't have any interest in doing it, really.
Yeah, me neither. But here's
That's
another
just me.
kicker. Podcasters, again, it goes back to this whole search engine optimization thing. Podcasters are not
Yeah,
helping themselves at all when they do their show notes, when they leave a one sentence of content.
yeah,
So,
yeah, exactly.
yeah,
As far as in their show notes, is that what you're talking about?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I think it's some people would use it, and I think that's what Google and other companies found is that they'll use it mainly for vanity searches,
Mhm.
or they'll use it to some degree to do maybe market research on a particular topic.
Right.
Um, but as far as everyday listeners using keywords to discover short segments of content, it just doesn't have a model to it.
Yeah.
And in
Well,
some ways, Clamor kind of fits into this too. Clamor was a feature, not a company.
yeah. And I
Um,
got, face blasted again. How dare I talk about these women that were working? So I said nothing to do with them. I've never met them. I'm sure they're nice ladies. I'm sure they had good intentions. Um, but
so what ladies are you talking about? Are you
well,
talking
I
about
guess I think there was two women that
search?
run this, wasn't it? Wasn't there two ladies that run audiosearch.ch? Uh,
I know of one woman.
okay,
Um,
so let me look here and look at the
yeah, I think her last name was.
Annie Wooten, yeah,
Yeah,
and Bailey Smith.
I
Those were
think
the.
I. Yeah,
It was mostly a lot of ladies in the lead of the team. Lita Moritz, the marketing director, Taylor Singer, linguist, then had
yeah,
some guy that's got a Ukrainian type name as the software engineer, Shindo Streklik, and Brian Underwood is a senior engineer. So, and I'm sure they're nice ladies and did a good job, but if they were, it goes again. You said the key word at the beginning, a secret meeting with NPR types.
yeah,
Okay. Podcasting extends
yeah,
beyond NPR.
yeah. And I'm sure that like you say, Todd, they're all good people, and
Yeah.
they all work hard. And it's really sad that this has happened to them. But if they would have asked me, 3 or 4 years ago, if this was a smart company to start, I would have told them no.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm not the first one that anybody calls on
Hmm.
stuff like that. So,
Yep.
and that's people are going to do what they think is the right thing to do versus what the history has said. And that's one thing too, that there is no kind of history of this stuff, and that people can go back and reference to say, um, has this been tried before?
Right.
Um, I, I the longer I'm alive and the longer I've been in this technology sector, the more I come across situations where I've seen things tried many times in the past, and sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. I'm hopeful that maybe the market's different now, or things are different now, and maybe the time is right.
Yeah.
I think a lot of things back in the dot-com era were started that were too early, right?
Oh,
Like e-commerce.
there was a few things that I did
Um,
early on that was too
you
early.
could have made a case in the early days. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There's a lot of things like shopping for pet food online, with pets.com. That was too early,
Yeah.
but now it's commonplace, right? But then there's other things that really cut to the chase of human behavior that just are not going to work. I mean, they may be built if the cost of building them is so low. And I was hopeful that this audio search thing was. We were in an era where we had very fast computers, and the cost of processing is getting less and less every year. But I think Moore's law is starting to fail us right now. So I think big jumps in technology, and Todd, you jump in on this. Big jumps in technology are costing and taking longer than ever before.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, are you seeing that in your tech show? I mean, it just doesn't seem like technology innovation is really looping forwards right now.
Oh yeah. The artificial intelligence stuff is going to be huge. And where we're going with
Yeah,
that. Hey, I do want to
But
talk.
that's
Oh,
that's long term though,
yeah.
you know?
So here's
But
a lesson in not what to do with a sponsor ad spot. Stamps.com is advertising all over the place, right? And they'd been
mhm.
advertising on Dan Savage's popular Savage Lovecast podcast for a while until this week when Savage read a Stamps.com ad urging listeners to never go to a post office if you can because it doesn't smell very good in there. He says, thankfully, you
What?
can avoid the hassle and stank of the post office. Instead, mail everything from postcards to envelopes to packages, domestic or international, with stamps.beep. And Savage said in reading the ad during his Monday podcast. Well, stamps.com suspended its advertising with a Savage. And so a USPS employee in downtown DC was taken aback when he heard. He's, I like Dan Savage, but I can't believe he said that. So this is one of the first ads I've seen get pulled from a podcaster when based upon how the ad read went. And I'm reading it and I'm thinking, yeah, I've been in some pretty stinky post offices too. But
Somebody doesn't have a sense of humor, obviously. Yeah.
no.
No.
So yes, your ad reads ad lib can go too far. In case, he Stamps.com spokesman Eric Nash a statement to corporate crime reporters saying Stamps.com would like to apologize for what Dan Savage said, and we do not agree with this comment. 'Cause Stamps.com has suspended our advertising with Mr. Savage. Mid-roll, the podcasting agent that represents the Savage Lovecast also apologized for the Savage comments. Wow.
And
Really?
then
Really? They canceled it for that?
the post office, yeah, yeah. I'd like to know if the post office just ordered a bunch of uh, fragrance, generators for
But
their post
if you
office.
think about if I if that's what it takes to get an advertiser fired in the podcasting space, it's like
Yeah.
I hate to say it, stamps.com, you're like, wow, it's pretty insensitive. I'm just like, really?
Yeah.
I'm just really kind of like blown away that they canceled him over that copy.
Their relationship with the post office must be pretty tenuous.
Maybe that's what it is. Or maybe
Yeah.
that's the case. Business that's built on top of another group's business is definitely not a business that I want to be in, right? But that's what stamps.com is. Their business is built on top of the US Postal Service.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah. So anyway, I just thought that would throw a little
Well,
vibrancy in here to one thing that we didn't hear a lot about. Did we that women's conference work? I think it was work, WERK. Did we hear much out of that?
work it.
Yeah. Did we
I
hear
think it's
anything?
called. No, I didn't really hear much of anything about it.
Yeah. I know a bunch of ladies went. I just didn't hear too much about it. So maybe I'm
But
not
and I think I'm probably not the right person to ask. Probably we should ask somebody that
like Elsie or somebody. Yep.
that's probably a woman.
Yeah. Okay.
What they heard.
Here's another big one. Can you believe that these personal audio folks that had the podcasting patent tried once again to get their patent reinstated by going a different legal route? The lawsuit's been going around
Yeah, yeah, I saw that.
since 2015, and they basically went back to the Court of Appeals and they basically said whatever happened here, you weren't valid, and we want to have a different process. And they have a violated their client's constitutional right to a jury trial and whatever. But this week, the appeals court rejected this argument. They're done. They're done.
Finally.
So, yeah,
Jeez.
finally. And I didn't even know they were trying to appeal this original, decision. But so the question really is does Adam Carolla, can he go back and get his money back? Can he sue for that money?
Uh,
Can ABC and CBS sue for the cash?
that's actually a really good question. I'm not sure. It's actually a really good question. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Probably costs more to lawyer it up than what it costs to pay him anyway. But of course, the money might be gone. I
Yeah.
mean, that they, but yeah, the Wicked Witch of the West is dead. So
So if you wanted to see more detail on that kind of last ditch effort on the part of Personal Audio, there's an article at Ars Technica, and it's actually linked to from my Twitter feed at Rob Greenlee, and you can see it in there. It just talks about how they're they were threatening, I think, to go to the Supreme Court or something like that to try and overturn the decision, and then they just kind of the federal court just stamped it down, and said you're done.
so it's
Yeah.
it's just one of those things that makes you go, wow. So just to get everyone updating here, I want to talk a little bit about. I don't know if I shared what we're doing at CES this year, but turns out that one of our team members, who goes with the team every year, CEA or CES also offered him a broadcast area. So it looks like we're going to be have two areas to send people to. We're going to be able to send folks over to the North Hall. I think he's going to be occupying the space that I was in last year, and
Oh,
then we're going to be in Eureka Park with the main studio. So, but I don't know. We're going to have to work that scheduling out. I don't know how we're going to handle. It's Mario Anderson. He's taking care of that venue. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how CES goes this year because my at least my team, my personal team, is going to stay in completely in Eureka Park with the startups, with the 800 startups that are there, and covering them.
so that's in a separate hotel, or that's in a
Well,
hotel somewhere,
well,
or
CES is in multiple hotels and convention centers. So Las Vegas
yeah, huh?
LVCC is filled to the gills. I mean, it's full. And then the startup and innovation area, where you have brand new companies from France, England, all over the world. It's a startup um, spot. They're all in the stands, which they call Eureka Park. They're on the first level. Then
Okay,
this
it
the
sounds.
then home innovation is on level two. And then there's stuff in the Venetian, and I mean, it's spread all over the city. The show has just grown massively, and we haven't
Wow.
been in the pro audio section in years because that's always been in a separate hotel. But when I mean pro audio, like $10,000 stereo amplifiers and that type of stuff. So we're not even we won't be even going in that. So yeah, we're looking forward to what we're going to be doing at the Sands and in Eureka Park and talking with startups. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Hey Todd, have you seen any kind of bubbling of anything going on at CES around podcasting?
No, no, nothing at all. Yeah, I've never even, I be honest with you, I've never even looked. There's a lot of podcasters there covering it, but you know,
Yeah,
we've just gotten the show's gotten so big, we've had to subdivide. There's no way. You just can't cover it all. Engadget and Gizmodo and those folks go in there with 40 people, and 20 of them are sitting in a trailer doing nothing but regurgitating press releases all day. I don't do that. We just we troll the floors for cool stuff, and we are taking appointments, but they have to
yeah,
come out of the hall that we're viewing in. And if you have a PR company, you go PR. They're actually get bottom priority. Um, yeah, for me, PR companies are personal non grata right now when it comes to doing shows like CES.
yeah.
They're control
Makes sense.
freaks. and they limit your access to vendors, and that's not what we're about. So, so yeah, that's on the
Yeah.
horizon. 10 days in
Okay.
Vegas. That's 7 days too many.
Yep. And I so you're planning on being up here for PodCon?
Yeah, I'm kind of I'm thinking I'm gonna just fly in Saturday morning, and then I'll leave Monday. But I'm thinking that's kind of my initial plan is I'll get in there about 9:30 or so, and then get my bags and come up from the airport. So yeah, so that's kind of my plan, and because the show has a late start, so I'll be there all Saturday and all Sunday.
Okay.
And Mackenzie will be there as well, so she'll be there, get the booth set up and all that. FinCon turned out to be pretty
Okay.
good. It wasn't bad. We had decent traffic. A lot of
So
podcasters.
did you go to it?
Yeah, we went to FinCon. The guys from
No,
podcast.
I mean, oh, so you attended yourself?
No, I did not. We just sent one
Oh, you
person.
did. Okay.
Yeah. Podbean was there. We were there. Podfest was there, and and we were in a little like a half booth, and it was perfect, absolutely perfect. A table and had our material out, and she stayed pretty busy talking to people. A lot of people that want to do a podcast that haven't started a
Uh,
podcast. So a
yeah.
lot of folks like that. But one thing it doesn't have people don't have business cards no more. You know that it's just it's this younger generation doesn't believe in them, um, and it's kind of surprising to me, but it's a generational thing.
Yeah, I mean, is there any clue on why that is?
Yeah, I don't know. It's we have to get badge readers now because that's the only way we collect people's information is because they don't have business cards.
Huh,
And lucky if they have an email address.
interesting. I wonder.
Yeah,
Yeah, so how do they share their information? Is all done via their mobile phones, I guess.
I'm sure. Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's I think for those that work for companies and stuff have business cards, but it's
Yeah.
business card to me is like one of the most important things I take to a trade show and things and I write notes on the
Yeah.
back of people's you know they walk away and I flip their business card over and I write because if you're talking to 50 people a day, you can't remember who this
Yeah.
person was. So,
I'm not sure that people really have developed a process to gather, those cards and actually do something with them. I think they tend to get thrown into a box somewhere or lost or something like that. I sometimes have that impression.
well, we take, for the company side, we follow up on every person that we talk to,
Yeah.
we follow up with. But,
Yeah, it's like a contact list, and
yeah,
I know that's what the speaker does as a company.
yep,
If we gather cards like that, but I'm
yeah,
thinking more from an individual perspective.
yeah, yep.
So
Let's see here. What happened here?
yeah,
Nothing.
what else is going on?
Hang on, I've got to reply to this. No attachment. I don't know. I just, we've been busy. It's really remarkable, and the support team has been busy too because the amount of handholding that we have to do these days is pretty high. And there's a lot of podcasters that are not um, that are just they really have no technical skills whatsoever. So
Yeah, I see that. I agree with you, Todd. I think that's a big thing that I've noticed too. It's almost like what happened in the early days of YouTube, right?
yeah,
Where a lot of people got involved in YouTube that had like zero technical skills.
right.
They were um, and I see that happening with podcasting right now. it feels a lot like that. There's a lot of basic conversations that I have to have with people about how this medium works. There's not a lot of long-term knowledge of, and this whole thing with this audio search company is a, is a little example of that. That there's just not a lot of knowledge, I guess, that is permeated time,
Hmm.
and I think there's just a lot of things that are lost um, over the years of things that have been tried, and I guess it can get a little discouraging at times to see things um, get repeated over and over again,
Yep. Well, I think it.
especially if they're mistakes.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
it's just par for the course, and but their VCs are still willing to give money out for this type of stuff. So
yeah, that's the fascinating part, and a lot of that money's going into content these days, which is um, I wasn't sure that I would really ever see that happen.
right. Well, I'm not.
Yeah,
It's
but it's happening.
it is happening. I don't just I
Yeah.
can't imagine being in that business, but hmm, it is weird.
Well, it's going into content that has high probability of getting advertising. That's what. So it's really about advertising is really where the investment is coming. Um,
So they're designing shows specifically around advertisers. That seems
yeah,
crazy.
so they can have big audiences. Um, Tech is still getting investment to some degree.
Right.
Platforms are still getting investment.
Hmm.
Uh, there's still an interest there.
Right.
That doesn't necessarily surprise me because that. But I guess it's the content side. I guess it's the linkage with the advertising opportunity that many in the medium see as growing, and I think we all hope that there's some sort of a breakthrough that can get us up to $1 billion in ad revenue in this medium. Um, Todd, you and I have talked about this a lot too. I talk about it with lots of people in the medium of what it's going to take, and as part of why I'm hopeful that these other platforms like the Pandoras and the Spotify's and Google and whatever can get involved in this medium and have an impact because that's those type of platforms are have have a potential, right? Whether or not it's going to be realized is the question
It just feels like it's
of
taken
growing
for.
this medium.
It
Yeah,
just feels like it's taken forever
I
for those folks to move. It's just, oh,
yeah,
nothing moves quickly.
and I think Android is really the short term solution to growth. I haven't heard anything new on that side, other than I'm sure that it's progressing.
Well, we continue to see growth in Android month over month. Um,
Yeah.
and some
Well,
shows are growing
there's
faster
only
than.
up from here, right,
Well,
Todd?
it can only be up when podcasters don't put it on their website. Don't even have a way for people to subscribe on Android. So it just makes me laugh.
Yeah.
They complain about not having enough listeners, but anyway, I'm running out of gas here, Rob. Today.
Okay, Todd. Fair enough. I think we did fine. I think
Yeah.
this was a good show. I think we were a little bit technically challenged because I'm doing it from a different location now, and it's got kind of a little bit of a different setup
Yeah, you're back home.
than
So
I
what did you
had.
do? Leave the winter home
Yep.
and your or summer home, and now you're at the winter home? Is that how that works?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I got too many homes right now. No,
Did you get the iPhone 10?
Todd, no.
Why not? You call Francesco up, say,
I'm
"Hey, you got a
I'm
sport."
still on I'm still on Windows Phone 10. So
Oh, okay, please. You need to.
I am.
Oh my God, you need to move
I
on.
have two, Todd. I have two Windows Phone 10 phones right now.
You know
So
you're
I'm single-handedly holding up the platform.
Well,
No,
that's
I'm
reassuring.
yeah, I know exactly.
I haven't
So,
I did not
but my
upgrade.
wife has moved to Android,
Oh,
so she's on Android,
but which device did
and
she end up with?
she's got a oh, what's the brand
Is it
of
a
it? I'm just drawing a
Samsung
blank
or
on the
Sam
name of it right now.
Samsung
Yeah,
HTC?
it's what's that?
Samsung HTC, something like that?
Uh, Alcatel.
Alcatel. You guys
Actually,
have picked some weird,
Alcatel.
weird phones.
I know. Hey, the path less traveled is more interesting, Todd.
Okay. Yeah, one of our team members says, "Are we upgrading to the iPhone 10s?" I'm like, "We upgraded. We're not due for up. We really don't have a internal corporate policy, but about every 2 years we do phones." And I'm like, "We're only a year
Yeah.
into we got another year to go. But if you really want a phone, um, no, I'm not moving the iPhone 10. I can't. I don't want to be able to give up the ability to use a fingerprint. Fingerprint unlocking is very
Oh,
important to me."
well, I got a free Windows Phone 10 phone from Alcatel. So I actually have a brand new Windows Phone 10
S
phone.
so they can't even sell them.
And
So
then I have
they're giving them away,
what's
huh?
that?
They can't even sell them, so they're giving them away?
Yeah. And it's a pretty nice phone, I have to say. Um, but it's but, but you're right. Microsoft has decided to abandon Windows Phone 10, so which means that I am on a ticker that's going to count down. That's going to put me it's going to wind up putting me on Android. I think
Oh
is what's going to happen.
oh, you're not gonna move to Apple?
I don't think so.
Oh, why not?
Well, because I think the future of podcasting is going to be on Android,
Oh, okay. Well, I have
right?
both, so I'm good.
That's yeah,
Yeah, I've got
yeah.
a cheap
So
cheap
I'm
Android
gonna
device, though.
yeah. So it'll probably be a year from now or something like that when I'll jump to Android.
Well,
But
yeah, but
I've got to wear out these phones. I have to drop them a few more times, Todd.
well, you're like, "Oh, shoot, I dropped it." Yeah, drop it to "Honey, I broke the screen on it." Oh, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Y
Yeah, I have to have a good excuse, Todd, to be able to spend $1,000 and get a new phone.
well, that's why you get Francesco to buy it for you. That's you tell, "Hey, I need a corporate phone."
Yeah, there's
Yeah, yeah,
that's true. Yeah, since we're this big conglomerate now, right?
that's right. You guys are huge. You guys got like 50 people or something, so
No, we don't have 50 people. We've got
okay,
like I think
40.
there's been a little bit of a thinning out of the herd.
Oh, the acquisition firings, that's
So
what
I
it
think we're
is.
at like yeah, I think we're down. I think we're at like 23 people
That's
now.
still
I
it's
think
still big. It's still big.
something like that.
Yeah, you're twice the size of us, so you're doing something right.
Well, yeah, twice the payroll too, right?
Oh, that's true. That is true.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, everyone.
So
Thanks for being here. And yeah, we just kind of rambling here at the end. So I'm distracted. I got people messaging me in 5 different ways. One thing I shouldn't have open is my chat window during the show, but I'm getting ding, 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 ding. My phone's going. My Slack
oh,
app is going crazy.
okay.
So, but anyway, if you have comments on today's show, it's Todd at blueberry.com or at Geek News is my Twitter address.
Yeah,
Rob?
Rob at robgreenlee.com or rob at spreaker.com. Those will work. And on Twitter, so that's a great place to reach out to me too. Find me over there. I do the Spreaker Live show every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. SpreakerLiveShow.com.
And
So still doing
hopefully,
that every week, Todd.
yeah, hopefully next Saturday our bandwidth woes will be eliminated. So I think it was on my end. I just kind
Yes,
of
it
feel
will be. Yeah,
think I got
yeah.
it.
I'm going to get things set up here, and then we'll be back to my
Well,
other location
well, you weren't home for months,
next
so
week.
that's what's going on. Your internet connection's jacked.
No, well, I'm on Wi-Fi right now. Where
Oh.
before, when I did it from here, I did it on a wired connection. So
Therein
I got to
lies.
get back to a wired connection again.
Yeah, with Skype, always wired. Always, always, always. Okay, everyone. Thanks. We'll see you next
Yep.
time here. We'll be back next Saturday. Everyone, take care.
Okay.
Aloha.
No.
All right. See if I can find the button to actually stop the show.
Yeah, for some reason I completely lost your video. The whole